It's Onda Live, Chicano Music and Culture Fest, sponsored by AARP. Hosted by Cheech Marin and La Marisol, Onda Live is your 3-day all-access pass to the Chicano vibe in music, comedy, and culture.
Saludos a todos. Welcome back to Onda Live, Chicano Music and Culture Fest, sponsored by AARP. Yo soy La Marisol de la Santa Cecilia. It's our closing day of Onda Live, and man, we have a spectacular lineup of mashups, a tribute to Emilio Navaira, and a celebration of Little Joe's 80th birthday. Happy birthday, Little Joe. To begin Onda Live today, we'll have a Zoom session and a premiere of the soon-to-be-released music documentary, Song for Cesar, the movement and the music. To open our session, we have moderator Chuy Varela.
Thank you, Marisol, and thank you Onda Live for hosting today's session and premiere of Song for Cesar, the movement and the music. My name is Jesse Chuy Varela, and I will be your moderator for this next segment on the film documentary Song for Cesar, the movement and the music. And we have a prestigious panel to discuss this illuminating documentary, which gives a unique cultural and musical perspective to the struggle of the United Farm Workers Union. With us, we have the co-producer and the writer of the title song, Song for Cesar, the one and only Abel Sanchez. Andres Alegría is also here with us, co-producer and senior editor of the film. Christine Chavez, the granddaughter of Cesar Chavez, is also with us. Arturo Rodriguez, president of the UFW since 1993, is also here. David Carrasco, the noted professor at Harvard University, is also with us. And the one and only Taj Mahal is also in the house. So we've got some great folks to talk about Song for Cesar. And to kick it off, Abel, tell us, how did the idea come about for Song for Cesar?
Thank you, Chuy. First of all, I'd like to welcome everybody, and I really appreciate all these distinguished guests and good friends for many years to join us and help us talk about the film. The way it started, I mean, we've been on this journey for 15 years, gathering footage and interviews and everything about the story, because it's such an important story. Cesar being one of my heroes for forever, and all the farm workers and the people in Arturo and the UFW. I was just inspired to write a song that just happened. It was dedicated to Cesar Chavez. And from that evolved the making of this film. I was introduced to my partner, Andres Alegría, and somebody said, you guys should do a documentary and pursue. And that's how it began. And it's evolved just so beautifully. I mean, I've met so many beautiful people as a result of this filmmaking and the experiences and their stories. And we're so happy to be able to tell that story because it's important. It's important. It always has been important and it always will be. You know, and that's how it all started. I don't know. I'm just honored to have these people. They're going to be able to tell you a lot more about their perception of it, and the film itself will really speak for itself. It's been a journey, and I can't thank God enough for this experience. So,
well, I think that you definitely have done wonderful things. I mean, bringing your musical history as really one of the great pioneers of the Latin rock sound in the San Francisco Mission District, and and Andres, and for you, coming in as a co-producer and as an editor and someone who has been doing the nuts and bolts of a lot of this. What have been the challenges for you to try to put together this with the best possible quality to honor Cesar?
Well, the first challenge was to figure out exactly what we were doing, the film that we were making. We got together to initially do a music video with Abel and Jorge Santana's Song for Cesar. We produced the music video and then thought, well, what are we going to do next? We got encouragement from a number of people, including Maya Angelou, and we decided that we needed to make a full-length film. And we knew that films had been made about Cesar, about the UFW, about the struggle of farm workers in this country. So we felt that we needed to express ourselves in a slightly different direction. And what we did was we recognized the work that artists had been doing for years with the UFW, musicians, painters, writers, people all across the board, actors. And we decided to tell the story of the farm workers' struggle and of Cesar's inspiration through the words of the artists themselves. And really, that's what this film is. It's the struggle of campesinos for their rights, for proper treatment, for good working conditions, as told through the inspiration and art of Chicano musicians, artists, actors, writers, etc.
Well, I've always believed that really that the emergence of the UFW really was something that, began to mobilize, farm workers to speak up for themselves. But it was also about educating farm workers. And, the work of the Valdez brothers, Luis and Danny and Agustin Lira, they were very important in really creating, this grassroots theater and these songs that everybody sang, to get out there in those picket lines and to be inspired. And Christine, for you, what was your reaction when you saw it? And perhaps, how do you see it as part of your grandfather's legacy?
First, I just would like to say thank you. It is an incredible documentary. I think we saw a preview of it a couple of years ago at one of the UFW conventions, and I said, that is going to be incredible. People are going to love that. One of the things that we grew up going with my dad and my mother to Candlestick Park to see Crosby, Stills, and Nash. I had no idea that they did benefit concerts for the farm workers way back when. And so I was very surprised to see that. Growing up, you think you know so much about this movement, but you're always constantly learning more about the people, that gave so much to the movement. There's also another point. I think his name was Raul Rico.
Raul Rico,
Rico, I know that unfortunately he's passed on now, but he said something so profound in the movie. He said, I remember cutting school to go protest. And he said, I didn't even speak Spanish, but I learned the word huelga. And then he said that his chest was filled with pride, knowing he was part of the solution. And he said it's put a smile on his face, and that smile had never left his face. And so just hearing the kind of impact that, that the artists felt, giving back to the farm workers was incredible.
Well, David Carrasco, you are a noted, scholar at Harvard. You have really done a lot of wonderful research, about the spirituality of La Raza. And you also showed this film, to your students, and we're talking about students that are studying religion, at Harvard. What was your reaction to it? And perhaps how would you define the spirit of this film?
So thank you very much. It's great to be here with people. Some have been fans of Chuy Varela and Taj Mahal for many years, and it's great to be here, and also to make new friends with Christine and Arturo. So, I had this great opportunity to meet, Abel Sanchez and Andreas, and they asked me to get involved in this, and I said, we got to bring this film to Harvard University. Harvard University needs this. Harvard University is going to be enlivened and improved by this. So we brought the film, and we had standing room only. We had like 500 students came to see this film, and it just rocked their socks off. I mean, they were just so moved. And I think that what they saw in this was that Mexican Americans interacting with other groups, other ethnic groups, other musical people, had really come to define a change in America in the 60s and 70s in a way that they had no idea. They tend to be very moved by, as I am, by the African-American struggle, but the Mexican-American struggle is still kind of regionally known, and this changed things at Harvard. We also had a Mexican cook come and feed 400 of these students, and they could see the combination of music and struggle and learning and new community. So I'm so grateful for the chance to have done this, and I want you to know we're going to have another premiere at Harvard that's going to even have a bigger crowd once the film comes out.
Sí se puede, yes. But Arturo, for you, you're somebody that has had to pick up the reins, where Cesar left off, and you've continued struggling and fighting for this union. And this film, is one that I remember being in Sacramento with you and Paul Chavez and others. And I saw that look in your face, there was this gleam about, what an important film this was going to be. And perhaps, what do you hope that this film will do for the advancement of the farm workers in this time?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Chuy, and everyone else, Abel, Andres, for all the tremendous work that y'all did here, and all the other folks that are joining with us today. But, you know, I think, first of all, it really educates a lot of people, as David was saying, Christine was talking about, that it talks to them about the importance and the value of entertainment and artists and poetry and music, all of that, how it really played a major, major role in the movement throughout the years and continues to do so. I mean, drawing murals. We still, at every UFW convention, have a mural put there, and there's murals all across the country about Cesar and the farm workers and so forth. So that this film talks about all these artists that, as Christine mentioned, you would have never known today that they were involved for now 68 years, because it's been 68 years since we started. And Joan Baez, she still comes out and supports us. Chris Christopherson and Little Joe and Luis Valdez and Danny Valdez, they're all still part of the movement for the last 68 years and still contributing. So I think this film helps talk about what happened in the past, but also still resonates with people today, and the fact that artists and entertainment and poets and so forth continue to write about the struggle of farm workers. And this will help advance the knowledge about what people know about farm workers and the people that have been a part of it.
Oh, that's beautiful, Arturo. Taj Mahal, you are a person who has been out there in the front lines, from the civil rights movement to, you know, the radical Berkeley 70s, and, you know, and of course, you know, your advocacy for, you know, justice around the world is renowned. But tell us, what do you recollect about meeting Cesar, and what brought you to this movement when you heard about it?
Thank you very much, Chuy and Abel and other honored guests. It's my pleasure to be here today. It's very exciting. You know, most of the times when we see modern day depictions of what went on, it used, I would say that 95% of the time, I'm left a little flat when they try to say, well, here's the 60s, and we're going to give you a slice of it. This is above all, you know, amongst the best that I've ever seen of anything that went on back there. If you weren't there and you come and see this movie, you're going to be there. You're going to feel it. You're going to feel the energy when everybody says, "Viva la huelga!" You know, when they say, I mean, hey, it came to my ears. I saw it. You know, I mean, with me, I'm a bit bombastic about this, but I'll calm down. I mean, here's the thing, is that my people were brought into this country from a continent, you know, across an ocean, to work essentially in agriculture. And we worked in agriculture so long that we wanted to put it behind us. Fortunately, I was one of those kids that came into space after they had gotten away from the South, and I had an opportunity to turn around and look at it for all the things that were good about it. The music, knowing how to grow things, knowing how to be responsible for yourself. When I came out to California and I saw what was going on, I had picked tobacco as a young man for a couple of years. I'd worked on a dairy farm for about 6 or 7 years. I was involved in the agriculture sector. So I knew what it was for people to work. My parents worked, my grandparents worked, stepfather picked tobacco, did stoop labor, picked apples. So I knew what it was like. And when I came out to California, I said, okay, well, who do I hook up with out here? Viva la huelga.
That's right. That's
right.
right.
And then here's the other part of it. So then in the movie, I find out that Cesar Chavez likes a musician that was played so loudly in my house. It was bigger than anybody you know that was popular in the 60s. And that was Jimmy Liggins. I couldn't believe Cesar was a Pachuco. I mean, it just blew my mind because of all
Let me tell you that I was at KPFA and I was interviewing him on the morning show, and we were walking by a poster of the San Francisco Blues Festival, and Jimmy Liggins was going to be playing, and he saw that. He goes, I used to dance to this guy. And I go, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, I was a Pachuco. He goes, my man is Coleman Hawkins, body and soul.
Yeah, same here. Same here. It's exactly. Mine from the 40s. That's what I took with me on into the 50s. Was Coleman Hawkins and Body and Soul. I played it a lot. Cool. Used to play inside my head, walking all the time. But that's not it. That's not only it. Is that oftentimes because the music industry is controlled by people who don't live where the music is made. Oftentimes, that music gets popular, and when the people who are controlling it aren't making any more money out of it, they pull it right out of the community that they're making the money and out of popular circulation. What I loved about what Mexicans did is that all the good music, they keep it. They pass it from generation to generation.
That's right. There's one thing that happens, Taj, in Mexican families, is that the families never get rid of their records. So
right.
Everybody keeps it. But let me go to Abel real quick, because, Abel, one of the people that we lost recently was the great guitarist Jorge Santana. Jorge died in May at the age of 68. And you co-wrote a song for Cesar. And it almost seems that, that Jorge Santana is really, this omnipresent force in this film. Talk about the relation of Jorge Santana to this film, the brother of Carlos Santana.
It was such a blessing to have Jorge co-write the song with me. His feeling about playing, I brought him in to do a solo. I had written the lyrics and the melody and, rhythm section. And I brought Jorge and I said, we need a hot solo to this song. Because I was inspired during the night in the studio. It seems like Cesar had entered the studio with spirit, because I had worked with him and a little bit of family prior. And so the song ended up dedicated to him. And when Jorge got on the guitar, at that point, he really didn't know. He just felt the spirit. And when he played that solo afterwards in many interviews, and he would tell me many times, he says, that solo is like it came through him, and what it had was the cry. He speaks of the cry of the people, the cry of the farm workers. And I get emotional when I think about my experience with Jorge and how this all came about. That was the seed. It was the inspiration for this dedication to the farm workers and the people that work so hard and we appreciate and honor. And anyway, it moves me when you say Jorge Santana. I miss him. He's my brother for many years, over 50 years.
Oh, no, he was a great man, and he left a great musical legacy. I always tell the story of hitchhiking from Martinez all the way to San Jose to Spartan Stadium for a UFW benefit that featured Joan Baez, but I went to see Malo with Jorge Santana, who were also playing there, which was very, very cool. But, Christine, one of the things is that, you yourself have worked in the federal government and all, and I really have felt that, that Cesar has achieved a lot of wonderful accolades for his legacy. I mean, the U.S. Post Office stamp, of course, the many state holidays. But the thing that I wonder now, and particularly at a time when we're seeing the shifting of generations, do you feel that we will see a federal holiday someday for your grandfather?
Well, I know that there's been many different efforts to do that. And I don't think that'll happen right now, but maybe after November 4th, that's something we could be looking at. But I know that different groups have gathered petitions and have lobbied different legislators, and even the president, I think, at one, not this president before, about about making a federal holiday. So we'll see. One of the other things I wanted to just point out, something that really also stood out really quickly about the movie, is that, and I hear this a lot about my grandfather when people are remembering stories. The person, and I'm blanking on his name, I'm sorry, but the person that went into my grandfather's office and said, oh, I want to take pictures, I'm a photographer, that can be my contribution to the movement. And my grandfather said, no, we need you to go plan all these concerts. And he said, I've never planned concerts. He's like, but I just figured it out. And I hear that story so many times that my grandfather makes a list of things that he needs and just gives it to somebody who may not have that talent or may not know they have that talent, but just kind of figures it out. So I think one of my grandfather's gifts to people is just always pulling out those things from people that maybe they didn't know that they were able to do, but accomplish them anyway. So.
Now that's a good point. I believe the person you're talking about is Jim Castle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Castle was
Jim
very,
Castle.
very important with that. But Arturo, you know, right now we are seeing farm workers going through perhaps, you know, as devastating situations as they faced when Cesar started this movement. When we look at farm workers working out there within the COVID-19 pandemic, you know, being out there having to wear masks, when we see them having to work in the midst of these fires that are happening in California and the smoke, it really seems that the struggle for farm workers right now is tougher than ever. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, it's always been tough from the get-go. I mean, remember when we started 62 years ago, farm workers didn't have toilets in the fields, no drinking water. They weren't covered by any laws whatsoever, like minimum wage laws, and on and on and on, no insurance and so forth. But yes, today it's extremely difficult, and they are true essential workers. Without them, America and many other parts of the world wouldn't have fruits, vegetables, dairy products, wines, you name it, on their tables, and to be able to come together as a family to eat food. And so without their sacrifice and their tremendous willingness to go out and do this, despite all the obstacles that are out there, we're very fortunate that we do have the farm workers that we have in our country today. And it'll never be recognized in this administration, but hopefully over the next, we see a change come about in America, and we really see what these essential workers deserve come true for them, and demonstrate the value that they really have brought to our nation and to society as a whole in terms of their willingness as immigrants to contribute, despite what the odds are, despite what the obstacles are.
Arturo Rodriguez, sí se puede, yes.
Sí se puede.
Yes. But you know, David Carrasco, for many of us, I came up in the Chicano movement, and, we heard, is particularly, being around UC Berkeley, we saw a lot of the writings that Octavio Romano and many others put out that spelled out the legacy of what is known as Aztlán. And Aztlán was this mythical land of the Aztecs, but there was a prophecy that someday the people of Aztlán would rise again to be able to take their proper place to the earth, and it created this incredible indigenous spirit. Do you feel that this film carries that feeling of the growth of what Aztlán has become?
That's a great question, and it reminds me of a book I like very much that I want our viewers to know about. It's written by a Mexican-American from San Antonio, John Philip Santos. It's got a great title, Places Left Unfinished at the Time of Creation. And what this film does, this film begins to finish up the story of the Mexican-Americans in this country and what they've created, and not only in terms of the Aztlán story, but in terms of the future. One of the things that's so important about this film is a line that I got from you, Chuy, because in the film, you say that people can learn the truth with a song. And one of the truths that they can learn is about how, to pick up another line from Taj, who said, these people know how to grow things. Mexican Americans from the time of Aztlán to now, they know how to grow not only plants, they know how to grow family, they know how to grow justice, they know how to grow music, and they know how to grow creativity. And one of the things that you see, from Romano to Santos to Cristina, is this kind of creativity that is so profound. Let me tell you how profound it is. There's another great line in the film from Taj Mahal. And what he says is, music is the language of our cosmos. He says, before you learn the language, you're already hearing the music. You know what that reminded me of? When I heard my children, Octavio and Leana's heartbeats. Even before they were born, you hear this cosmic language, and it's a drum. It's like the music that is calling forth the Chicanos, not only to keep struggling, but for the rest of the country to recognize what it is we have created, what it is we're giving, And I think this film is a great example of that, because this film can bring anybody who watches it and make them want to dance together with the story of the farm workers and Cesar Chavez. And that's what we got to do to finish the creation, is get people to dance together with La Raza.
Oh, I like that. That is very cool. Andres, for many years, I was a devoted listener to your shows on KPFA, on Ahora, on Saturdays. And, perhaps one of the most impactful interviews that you did was with Edward James Olmos, where you spent an entire afternoon with Edward James Olmos talking really about his mission in life. And one of the things that I learned from it really is how the artist can be an advocate and an activist, and use their celebrity, if you will, to be able to bring about change, positive change, in our society. For you, talk about, the role of the artist activist and the importance today, and that perhaps how these artists that are profiled in this film, utilize their celebrity to bring good to society.
Absolutely. And, there were artists that had celebrity and lent their celebrity to support the movement. But there were also artists who were teenagers, young people in their 20s who were just developing as artists, and were extremely talented people. Carlos Almaraz, the painter, who was growing into his painting, came back from spending some time in New York as an artist, came back to California to join the struggle of the farm workers in California, and developed into an incredible artist whose work is seen around the world today. It's just so important. And to me, the important thing is that it worked both ways, that the artists took the energy from the movement, incorporated and used it as inspiration to incorporate into their work. But at the same time, the work that they created was used by the movement to further la causa, to further the cause. And it just reflects the reality of, I think, what David was talking about, which is that creativity is something that's part of everything that we do, or should be part of something that of everything that we do, whether it's activism, struggle, or artistic work. And I think that this was a perfect example. It's an example that goes back in history, and in the film we talk about that, not just in Latin America, but all around the world, where artists and activists have worked together, have collaborated to accomplish beautiful work and to push forward movements.
Well, I have to say that, that for me, I've been very blessed to have been around a lot of different people. And, I grew up as a farm worker. I was 7 years old when I picked cotton out there in Isleta, Texas. You know what I mean? When we came to California, we picked oranges, and it was all part of our migratory, struggle that we went through. But, one of the guys that I got to interview, Taj, was the great Freddie Fender. And I asked Freddie, I said, Freddie, when did you hear the blues for the first time? He says, well, I was picking cotton in South Texas. He said, he goes, I was just a little kid. He goes, and then, at night, he goes, when we were all like chilling out, he goes, I'd hear these African-American brothers pull out these guitars and start singing the blues. And the thing, Taj, is that, the blues are universal. And we look at a lot of the people that are in this film, Los Lobos, you know what I mean? Carlos, the blues is at the essence of their musical and cultural being, man. And when Cesar Chavez said he dug Jimmy Liggins, well, that the blues was there, man. Yep. What is it about the blues that makes you want to get up and change the world, man?
Well, the music is from the people, the farthest down and the most oppressed. And you have to figure out not only how to get over what it is that depresses you and oppresses you, but you have to lift up everybody around you. And that's the job of the blues. you know, and use the you know the painting, the paints from the colors from all different parts of life. You're sad, you're happy, you know, you're getting married, you're not doing very well. You know, you got a skinny girl, you got a gordis, you know, whatever, blah, 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 blah. You know, all these things are going on. But the music always resonates with the whole planet. Right now, blues, American music as such is, you know, is a global resource. There's nowhere in the world you can't play music. I mean, right now, to me, rock and roll, Latin America's got rock and roll where it's supposed to be. That's the most, it's the most vibrant coming from there. Okay. And that's just because, again, you got family intact, you got all these different things intact. And that's when that music came. That's when that music comes from working people. Your culture that presently is still physically working, and you don't mind physically working if you get paid for a day's, you know, get treated right and get paid a decent day's wage. And the blues fits right in there with no problem. Whether you got it, whether it's behind an oxen, you know, to a yoke of oxen, or a mule or two mules or some horses, plow horses, tractor, don't matter. Blues is right there.
But Taj, you know, in this time right now, as we're, you know, entering this very conflictive era, coming up with an election that is polarizing this country, what would you say to folks out there to create a sense of unity, a sense of upliftment, you know, during these trying times?
Very simple. Everybody is somebody. Nobody is nobody. I mean, the pauper or the wealthy, everybody is somebody. If a man is born in luxury, it proves to me through history, he is somebody. But if a man is born in poverty, starvation, and misery, he's nobody. But wait, everybody is somebody. Nobody is nobody. I mean, the pauper or the wealthy, everybody is somebody. And it goes on. Poverty is what it takes to make such dangerous mistakes about who is somebody. Because when a woman has a child and before that child is born, he or she is somebody. Everybody is somebody. Nobody is nobody. I mean, the pauper or the wealthy, everybody is somebody. A loaded wallet makes one glad. Empty pockets make one sad. So listen carefully. If you the one that's got wealthy, remember the one that has no money is somebody. Everybody is somebody. Nobody is nobody.
Yes, the gospel according to Taj. Yes. All right, folks. So we want to give a special thanks once again to On the Live for convening us to share this very special project. And right now I'm going to turn it over to Abel Sanchez. I want to thank all of you for participating. And Abel, please tell us what's coming up next, you know, because I know we've got some very special segments for the folks out there to be able to get a little taste of Song for Cesar. Muchas gracias todos.
Thank you, Chewy. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for participating and helping us with this film. Real quick, I want to say one thing Andres said is, back when we were starting and Cesar was doing the movement, Jorge Santana and myself, Malo and our bands, all the musicians, we were young and we were kind of naive at that point, you know, but we participated because it was like exciting, like an explosion happening. But as doing this film over the years, I've gotten years later now from that point, I've gotten to meet the farm workers, the people, the veteranos, the Arturos, the people, part of the family. And, you know, when I shake the hands of a farm worker or lady, I feel in their eyes and in this shake, I feel where they've been and what the value and the hard work and the struggle. And I'm going to tell you this, making this film has been my gift for sure from the people I've gotten to meet from it. So I really wanted to say that because we were kind of naive, and this film has really brought me in touch with the true spirit of what everybody has talked about today. So thank you all so much for reinforcing that. But now we'll go to the film, which, you know, we had an honor of it. We're going to play some music out of the film. One of the pieces with actually my brother there, Taj, and myself and the band, a little blues tune, because like you say, the blues was the roots of many of us. and just some clips of the film to let people know, let our audience know what we're talking about as far as we really hope that everybody is basically educational, entertaining, but most of all educational in terms of the younger generations. We don't want the younger generations. I know Julie Rodriguez had gone to some classes with our initial tape, and she said, or started, how many know who Cesar Chavez is? And she said, the response, some little guy raised his hand and says, I know, he's a boxer. Oh, well, that hurt, right? It's the disconnect, which we want current generations, future generations to know who Cesar Chavez was and is, what he brought to the world, and that's the important part. And then another last thing was, one of the interviewees said that he wants kids to know that food doesn't come from the shelf at Safeway. He wants them to know what Arturo said earlier, where it comes from, the people that have a gift and a talent, and hard work and struggle to do that, bring us the food that nourishes our country and the world, So anyway, I really hope everybody enjoys the film, and it'll be out in March of 2021 on Cesar Chavez's Month Through a Nation, and just thoroughly enjoying. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
One last thing. Let's all give a collective Si Se Puede. 1, 2, 3. Si se puede. Right on. Thanks, everybody.
Is it just an inspiration that I'm searching for? Like a sailor across the ocean, seeking to explore. Like a never-ending battle.
It was said somewhere along the line, beware of a movement that sings.
Will I be forever?
Because the music is what lifts everything.
I want you to take out everybody in those fields.
Cesar, he lived his life for farm workers.
Senor Chavez, his dreams, his hopes, his desires, his work will live as long as we who are alive keep it alive.
Big boss man, can you hear me when I call?
The relationship between the owners and the people doing the work was appalling to me. It was something that I could do to help, raise money, bring awareness. Well, then it was time not to eat grapes. Grapes did not get eaten.
I've always been the happiest when I was doing activism and music at the same time. I think the deciding factor in whether you're going to make real social change or not is risk. Are you willing to take a risk? And the farm workers took the risks.
They don't care whether they're stripes, and as long as they're Mexicans, they're stopping him and beating him up in the streets.
Came across your border just to work for you.
It's a fight. Hardworking people have to fight for every scrap, for every dollar in this world.
I have two wings. In this wing, it was B.B. King and Tito Puente, John Lee Hooker, Miles Davis. And on this hand was Cesar Chavez, Dolores Huerta, Mahatma Gandhi, and Martin Luther King, and Malcolm X, and the Black Panthers. And to me, it was always about doing this with the music.
Music has always been part of our history as far as our Mexican roots. The corrido goes all the way back to the Mexican Revolution of 1910.
We use music for the movement, and that's where we got a lot of money to continue doing our work,
And just the whole idea of bringing rock musicians behind a movement, it was a very effective thing.
Up to California.
Music is important to affairs of the heart. As soon as I knew that it was Cesar and that it was for the farm workers, I was committed.
And what will you be given to your brown-eyed children?
We as artists had a purpose, and that purpose was to be faithful to each audience and to bring our stories, our theater, our plays, our music to the people, because that's where it belonged.
social change begins, it cannot be reversed. You cannot uneducate the person who has learned to read. You cannot humiliate the person who feels pride. You cannot oppress the people who are not afraid anymore. And you cannot stamp out a people's cause.